when the outdated tactics get left behind. It's time we stop. Marketers look around when your ranking's going down.
So tell me, how does link building work?
Long story. First, you create great content. Cornerstone is going to be you need something link worthy. You need something of interest, be it your company or be it a product or be it some type of informational page or study or quiz, or you need something on your website. Ideally, the more somethings that you have that are unique and wonderful and serve your customers well and get you mentioned in other places, the higher Google is going to perceive your trust, and thus the higher you're going to rank in Google. So
do you mean to say that you build it and they will come? Is
well,
that what you're saying?
sometimes, how do I say? Sometimes, but sometimes you also have to promote it, or via promoting it, you can have a much more of a chance of having success. And success could be measured in several ways. That could be sales, or it could be visits to your website, or it could be a number of other trusted places that are linking into your website, which helps boost your trust in the eyes of Google, which then can help you to rank higher in Google.
So you need something that would attract links, right? And there are two methods.
You do.
Yeah.
You can build it and hope that they'll come, which sometimes can happen. If you're like a major brand and you have a major following and you have something that's phenomenal and you talk about it on Facebook, or you tweet about it, or maybe it's something really cool, you even do a press release about it, or maybe there's a cool picture that you post on Instagram. There's ways to share things to try and get it in front of as many people's eyes as possible. If you're a big brand, it can happen much easier if you already have a following. But if you're not the big brand, then you might create something great, but in a sense you got to roar about it. Or if you roar about it and talk about it everywhere and let everyone know about it, then you have a much more of a chance of people finding it, discovering it, sharing it themselves, spreading it, bringing all sorts of good signals to your site, ideally links. So part of that, and even the big company, can go from here's our level of releasing it internally to all of our channels and letting our followers know about this, and some of those will share versus, hey, let's also be more proactive, and maybe let's write to certain journalists about this who cover this, or let's submit it to relevant categories of something like Reddit, or submit it in other places, or even things like Imager, or doing paid ads for things as well to reach a broader audience, to try and get more people to see this wonderful thing that you've created that is link worthy to certain people. And if you can do types of marketing to let those types of people know about this wonderful thing, then some of those will link to you as well. So you can sit and wait, which is easier, and do your own little, we'll market it on our channel, which is easier if you're a great big company. But if you're not that great big company, or even if you are, you're going to do way better if you promote it in certain ways to try and get it in front of people, so that ideally some people will voluntarily link to it. Google certainly doesn't like people doing things like paying for links, or guest blogging where the exchange is content for these anchor text links. So in a perfect world, you're creating something wonderful, you're putting it in front of as many eyes as possible to bring in all sorts of signals via whatever the goal is. And Ideally, some of your goals could be either conversions or overall visits or branding or stuff that's higher within the conversion funnel, or links or higher rankings across the site or more brand exposure. But ideally, the more you market it and the better you market it, the more of all that can happen.
So everything you create, which is great, and you look at that piece of content and think, hey, this is useful, this is awesome, we put so much work in it, will it all bring backlinks?
No.
Sadly.
Yes, sadly. Honestly, at Ninjas, and you're aware, we have brainstorm sessions for clients where we come up with a list of ideas that we think could help the client go viral. And there's usually about 10 people that are in on those meetings, and we'll come up with a list in the end of 25 to 40 ideas. And we sort those ideas on which ones we think are going to be able to get the most links to those. However, there's a lot of the clients that they want lots of links. They look at a success of a campaign as how many links, and of course it's not always the number of links. There's certainly something to be said about the quality of the link as well. And if you get one great link from one great place that brings in 1 million visitors, like, that is great. That's better than 20 other places that don't send in as much visitors at all. There's differences in things. When we come up with our list, we order the list on which ones we think will bring in the most backlinks. So we're like, hey, these top 3, we think there's a high probability of getting lots of links, and under there the medium probability, and then a lower probability. Maybe these are neat, relevant ideas, but there may not spread as much. And sometimes, not everything that we create or that anyone creates is going to go viral, so to speak, or is going to get backlinks. When we look at links, I guess there's earned and unearned links. If we say submit the site to Reddit, for example, let's say we create something great and we're like, oh, there's this category in Reddit that we should let everyone in here know about, this really cool thing that we think is going to be of interest to people in this category of Reddit, just for example. If we submit it to that page in Reddit, that brings a backlink, but we wouldn't consider that an earned backlink. And something like that, where you can submit something to somewhere in the eyes of Google, really isn't all that powerful. But let's say if someone's reading it on Reddit and someone's like, whoa, this is amazing, and I'm a blogger, I should write about this. Like, let me tell my audience, they would love to hear about this. Or I'm a journalist, part of my job is covering this category in Reddit. And, oh, wow, this is really neat. Like, this is something I'm going to write about, marketing it. I think I've listed a whole bunch of different ideas. And that could be writing to journalists that cover things. It could be submitting it to places, for example, like Reddit or other community places that are relevant to whatever the topic is. There could be paid ads and, Facebook or LinkedIn or other social places as well, depending on what the cool thing is. So there's kind of not all the marketing for every cool thing or linkable thing that you create is going to work for everything. There's like a cookie cutter, here's the steps. It's kind of like, what is it that it is? What's the community? What are relevant places to do? What are relevant places to advertise about this? If you're going to do any paid ads, say, to try and put it in front of as many people's eyes as possible. So how it works, I guess, is knowing where to market it, knowing where the audience is of that, possibly doing paid ads for it, or writing to other people that it's relevant for. If there's other pages on the web that talk about that topic as well, perhaps if it's relevant, you would write to them and say, hey, I see you have a page about this, and here's something as well which seems to be really relevant, your audience may want to know about. Who knows? But how do I say, there's all sorts of ways. How does it work? Depends on what it is and what you're trying to do and what your goal is.
To get a backlink, the
to
goal
get
is to get a backlink.
to get a backlink. Well, ideally, it's to get as many as possible, and not as many, but ideally, how many quality backlinks that you can get. And so, if you can start to get a couple, there's often this ripple effect of, if you do some work to get, some people to notice it, then maybe it might start to get ranked, or from those first few that notice it, suddenly it gets noticed a lot more, and suddenly it starts spreading, and it's either going viral, or maybe it's ranking in Google and bringing in all sorts of traffic, which is a neat thing that we've seen as well from some of the things that we've created. It reminds me of we had that one client who, they were in real estate, and we did something like 45 cool things to do in their city. It was a title that was similar to that. And a year later, I think they had just bought that one piece of content, and we did the marketing on it. And I think the first few weeks it did nothing special. And I had a review call with a client about it, and I'm like, it really nothing special. It didn't take off. We thought it would do a lot better. We thought it might go a little bit more viral in there, get some more signals from there, but it unfortunately didn't. But we'll track it every month as well. And what happened is the thing, it did get some signals to it and started ranking really high. And a year later, he contacted us back, and he's like, hey, 55% of all the traffic to my website is coming into this page about, my city. And it's gotten all sorts of other backlinks throughout the year as well, because everyone's finding it. And, a year later, he's like, that was the best thing we ever did. I would grade it an A++. Can you do more things like that? We said, yes.
Yeah, so ranking in Google is another good way to attract backlinks, because journalists, bloggers, everyone is using Google to research the topic. And if your piece is right there, they will link to it more and more as well.
And sometimes it doesn't take, if you have a really good piece of content, it often doesn't take, a really good piece of content or a link, something link worthy that you've done on your site. Often it doesn't take tons of backlinks to it. It really doesn't. If it gets some signals, it'll start to rank. And if the signals continue to be good for Google, suddenly some of these pages that we've created, where we may have originally created them with the expectation of, we want this to go viral and have every news source write about it and influential bloggers write about it and be on the front page of the New York Times or wherever, we have all these dreams. And some of our items that have had the most traffic are items that they end up ranking in Google, these big resource pages for thousands of phrases within the top 10, and they're bringing in a ton of traffic because they're really, really good resources. So it's funny, because I've looked at the correlation between, if you have a great piece of content or something wonderful on your website that's link worthy, what is kind of the correlation between the number of links or the quality of links coming into those versus how well they rank in Google. And it's interesting in that there could be some pieces that have attracted a lot of backlinks, but the Google traffic is relatively small, and there's some things that only got a few backlinks where the traffic is really big. And so there's other wins as well. Again, I guess it depends on goals, but some of the goals can also be, I was looking at a piece last week that had 2.2 million visitors to it. And this piece has been up for 4.5 years. So it's been up for 4.5 years, but it's brought in 2.2 million visitors to the website. Where of the 2.2 million visitors to that page, like landing page, Google, or landing page traffic, 1.8 million of those were from Google. So the vast majority of it was ranking in Google. Kind of on our tool, it was capped out at number of phrases that are in the top 10. We cap it out at 100, so it said 100 plus, but I think it was probably over 1,000 phrases that page ranked for within the top 10. Just a great piece of content. And I don't think it had a whole bunch of backlinks to it, I guess is the moral of what I'm going. And then there's other pieces that maybe got a ton of backlinks but don't rank as much. There is some correlation, and it's like for some stuff to rank, you kind of have to have some good signals to it, ideally. There's getting a couple of people to reference something wonderful on your website can give things a beautiful boost to then take off, whether it's rankings or whether it's other people finding it or, continuing to market it. And ideally, it starts to spread. We've certainly seen things, and we've seen them internally as well, where, it gets picked up by one news site, and then suddenly, boom, it's on other news sites and on other news sites, and suddenly it starts spreading, and then it's mentioned by so-and-so. And it's like, you can almost kind of track it, how everything came together. At least we always try our best to. We think they found it here, then they kind of went here, and then everyone found it from here, and we kind of try and piece together how things went. But sometimes things just start to take off, and they don't always. So does it always work? No. There are times we think it does. Sometimes it happens during an initial promotion. Sometimes it happens 2 years later. I think, can I say this now? I maybe can say this now. I'll say it kind of like this. I'll say it a little. Elon Musk has tweeted at least one of our wonderful pieces that we helped to create for a client. So I'll say that at least one. I guess maybe I can say at least two. I'll say that as well. At least two.
Don't be
Seriously.
shy.
I think we've also had like George Takai has tweeted a couple of cool things we've done. So yeah, it works, and it's not always predictable, and not everything that we create gets links or goes viral. Our odds are probably a lot better than most, but not everything that we create, but if it gets links, we're happy. If it gets good rankings, we're happy. If it brings in more clients or branding to the client site, we're happy. All those things make us happy. You can't always have all of those things together at once. Sometimes it's, this made me happy about it, or that made me happy about it, or this made me happy about it. Maybe it's a grand slam, everything, or they love our products going viral. It's not always that. Sometimes there's little wins within different areas, and all of those little wins tend to help everything. You win here, how do I say, your odds of winning in all the other places help, go up. If you're ranking in Google, other people are going to see you and find you as well, and if other people see you and find you and link to you, then, that pushes this up, and if other people are linking to you, you might get found, and that pushes that up. And so, it's kind of the mixture of everything, and any one thing that is done right helps your odds of everything else going up as well. So aim to get one thing good and everything can get helped. You're not always gonna hit a grand slam and be like, everything took off. It got tons of links, it got tons of traffic, it got tons of mentions here, it got this, it got that, and everyone bought our products. It's not always like that. So take any win is a win. Does it work? Yes, not always.
To sum up, there is no one single way link building works. There are all kinds of different methods of getting backlinks, but usually it starts with creating something link worthy, be it great content, free tools, infographics, all of that.
What doesn't work, or works until it doesn't?
What?
There's another way where it doesn't require great content. It almost doesn't require content because someone else will write it for you if you don't want to write it. And it's where it's things that I would not recommend for link building. So there's other things that can work short term, but then they can bite you in the butt. And things that can work short term are usually things where someone says, I have a spreadsheet of websites and oh, your site is, I don't know, a finance site, you sell life insurance and oh, in my spreadsheet, I have a bunch of finance bloggers and we'll write content about, your site or your life insurance and we'll put it on this blogger's website and and you'll look at it if you get it and you're like, oh, this looks good. Like, oh, nice article, says good things about us. um and the page is relevant, it's a finance blogger, like it's good. And the problem is the guy with a spreadsheet, it's kind of like the guy with a trench coat. He opens it up like, I got these watches for sale. It's kind of like, I got these links for sale in this spreadsheet, and they're selling them to everyone and anyone. Finance site. Oh, the payday loan guy's right around the corner there. Hey, I'll take one from every one of those. The payday loan guy, who knows what they're doing, because how they are. And all sorts of other sites are going to come in as well, like sites that are, oh, you got blog links for sale, finance sites. Yeah, we'll take them. And I guess there's a whole other thing of the guy with the spreadsheet. Where are those links coming from? Like, are they real, or some of them in these maps? But in any case, it doesn't even matter the history or the backlinks to those, which is another whole story. If we just look at who these sites link out to, so the person that got the link from the finance blogger who thinks is good. The problem is the finance blogger is giving links to everyone, and then Google kind of maps that stuff out. They're like, hey, all these sites have these common links from these common sites, and it looks like Bob got links from Joe's network of sites here, because we see that from all these finance sites under here all linking into this website, and there's kind of patterns in there. And then Google can do one of two things. Either can say, hey, all these sites are bad and we're going to penalize these sites and they don't rank and none of that page rank flows onto your site. Or they may say, these sites do have some kind of redeeming values. We're not going to penalize the site, but we're just not going to pass any page rank. So anyone that thinks that they're getting a link that's going to count from this site, they're not getting any juice out of here. So that's kind of the way that I wouldn't recommend people get links are from the people that say, we have this database of websites and that we'll write up something and, we'll get it on these people's websites. Like that's the stuff that can be mapped. That's the stuff that Google has problems with. Links are a very big piece of Google's ranking equation. And because of that, they spend a lot of time looking for stuff that's not natural, like sites that are connected in unnatural ways. Here's the list of sellers and here's the list of buyers, and none of this stuff is going to pass. And if we find too much of certain types of patterns, you're going to get either an algorithmic penalty or a manual penalty. But most of the time, that stuff that Google's mapped just doesn't count. So people are buying stuff that's already been mapped and page rank's not flowing. Or worst case, it gives them a little bit of boost and like, oh, this is great. And then suddenly it gets mapped or they get penalized. And then they're like, and then even if you disavow that stuff, it's not like you're going to return to that area. It's like, no, that's the stuff that pushed you up there. That's the stuff that Google mapped. Now we have to disavow it. You're not going to be there again. Like, you should have gone the slow, steady route of creating wonderful, natural stuff that was good for your clients and that, got real people to mention it, not from someone's spreadsheet, but from, real people that found your wonderful thing and decided to link to it. I tend to not trust bloggers at all, unless they naturally link to something where I've never asked them to link to. But like there's so many blog networks and list of stuff that I have a high distrust of most bloggers and people that are getting links from bloggers, because almost all of those things come from spreadsheets that Google's mapped and we've mapped. But that's another whole story about how we map all of the link sellers and all the link buyers.
So this is another way link building works, but we do not recommend ever doing.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah.
Look around.
around when your ranking's going down.